I'm so sorry about this rocking chair. That's all I got until I buy a new one. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, The Life of Daria. I'm so happy that you clicked on this video to see what a girl had to say. Okay.
Train her feet for running. Show her every door and how the windows let the sun in. Copy out the key and tell her this is.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I am Daria. If you do not know already, I say it so much. But yeah, my name is Daria and this is my channel about my life, about my story, about just everything. This channel is for me to help you with your journey with God. Through my stories, through my testimonies, and through the messages that God gives me specifically for this time. Okay, for this time and for the times to come. Yeah, I pray that this video helps you. I pray that it encourages you to know that no matter if you're dealing with addiction, God has been with you this whole time. Be obedient and just continue to follow his instruction, okay? So I am so excited for this video. I'm about to get really real on this video. I came as natural as I know how. But I wanted to wear a bright color because sometimes when people tell their stories and their how God freed them, sometimes people sometimes it's a little dreary. And I didn't want that because at the end of the day, I am free and I have been almost 3 years sober. Can y'all believe it? And I am so excited to tell you this story because I was addicted for 5 years to weed, and also at the very end I was also addicted to alcohol. And that's why my next video is titled Addiction Has Different Skins. Because if you do not identify the root of why you are fulfilling yourself with this thing and why you keep going back to it and you're trying to fill a void that only God can that only God can fill, you will have an issue and you will continue to keep on with that crutch, okay? So yeah, let's start this video. Like, come on now, we don't even gotta stall, all right? So I first started smoking when I was in high school, my senior year of high school. So how can I say this? And if y'all don't know by my previous videos, that I was always a church girl. And mind you, church girl has many definitions, but my definition is that I was always with God. Like I felt, and I was always serving in church. I was someone who felt like, you know what, God has always called me to a greater cause. And so I was always just, I feel as though I was just always born to serve God. So it was like, I can't even remember. Since I was young, I loved God and I loved Jesus. So you can only imagine that growing up, I served God. I loved Jesus. And growing up, when I was in high school, I even started a ministry and revised a ministry that was at my school called Higher Plains. And Higher Plains saved over 100 kids, like over 150 kids. And thank God that most of them, I don't see all of them often, but most of them still have a relationship with Christ, and that is all that matters, to be honest. So I'm so excited about that, right? But growing up through that time, and I did it my senior year, so it was through that time of like going into graduation and senior week where I was introduced to weed. And I was like, you know what? Why not, right? Why not? My stupid stuff. Why not? I was like, you know what? Let's do it. You know what I mean? I do not believe you only live once, because I believe that you're going to live with Jesus, depending on your life. But at the time, I was like, you know what? YOLO. I'm going to do what I want to do, unfortunately. And so I did it. And I think I did it a couple times then. And then I got on, but I tried an edible, most of my, I don't want to snitch, but most of my senior friends, we did it. And so I did it. And I was like, you know what? This is fun. I like this feeling. And then it trickled over into, I was a freshman in college. And in my freshman of college years, everybody knows you got to get lit before the parties. And I did. I was a smoker rather than a drinker at the time. So I would drink a little bit and at the same time coming from somebody who didn't do anything, I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing everything except the sniff. I wasn't doing none of that. I wasn't wilding, but I was doing what the world thinks is the minimum. I was smoking weed, and I also was drinking. And I realized that I liked the feeling so much that I was like, you know what? I want to stay in this party mode. I want to feel like I'm always, going out and, having fun. And so I would smoke regularly. I would smoke after class. I would smoke during the weekend, of course, because that was the time when you was having fun. And at the time, I didn't know I was addicted. And honestly, I don't think I was addicted at the time, but I was continually doing it. And I just always did. And at that time, I had money. And I also had a job. So I would spend it, not all my money, but I would kind of budget it in. And I was being responsible with my money. By budgeting in, I wasn't spending everything, but I was taking care of myself at the time. And I was just, a young girl having fun. And so, man, did it get worse. I would say about at the end of the year of my freshman year, I just remember me smoking. Like, I was just smoking all the time. Like, I was smoking. I wasn't no regular smoker. I wasn't a one blunt smoker and we done. I used to smoke often. I used to smoke almost 3 times a day, depending on the times. But I did it often. And I enjoyed it. But I didn't understand why I enjoyed it. I didn't know at the time I was being rebellious because I felt God was like, you know what, you know that I've always called you to be different. And I was like, you know what, but I want to be like the world. I told you about that. I've been through it, and I don't want you to go through what I went through. Skip that process. But yeah, I was like, but I want to see what I'm missing out on. And with that being said, I want to stop here. A lot of people think they're missing out on the fun. And if you think you're missing out on the fun, you will also miss out on the consequences that goes along with the fun. Okay, so I'm telling you to miss out. But some people are like, no, I'm missing out on the fun, but they forget that the consequences come with the fun. Okay? That I didn't know addiction would have me by the neck. You hear me? For 5 years. And also, just common things. Because if I can be honest, there were a lot of times there were times in my addiction where I got severely burned. I was burned. I could barely, and if you don't know what burnt means, burnt is like, you burnt, like, you smoke so often that you mentally incapable to function. Like, it's like you act slow. Like, you be pressed to smoke, all of this, like, you burnt. And I was burnt, like, through this time. I would say my second year, I noticed that I started to get mad forgetful. Now, a lot of people be like, oh, we don't get you like that. I can do what I want. A lot of people don't even know that they're addicted because they say, oh, I can stop when I stop. But then when they try to stop, they don't understand that because you was like, I'm going to stop, and then you made it for like 30 minutes, and your body was like, no, we ain't doing that today. A lot of people don't understand addiction. And the first indicator and the first way to get free from addiction is to acknowledge that you are addicted. Remember that. But yeah, it was like I was being mad forgetful. I would literally leave my purse everywhere. I lost so much licenses, so much money. I lost so much things that were personal to me. I lost a lot of things because I was very forgetful. I wouldn't forget that weed though, but I was forgetful of the things. And my memory started to get a little funky at the time. Like, I literally would forget that I would do things or forget that I would, had to do things. Like, I forgot certain stuff. But still through this time, even though in that last video a while ago that I posted when I said no to God for a relationship, this was the time around my smoking. This was during my addiction stages. So it was like, I was like, God, I feel like I'm missing out and I want to go over here. But I also found that I still wanted to help people get to God. But through that time of my addiction, I found that for me, I was like, there's no way that I could serve God for myself and also be battling. I really did. I believe that it was just no way I could. And also, I didn't want to be a hypocrite. I didn't want to stand in front of people and say, God did this to me, God did all of this, and I was battling myself. But I still knew that God was real. I still knew that Jesus died for us to be free. But because I didn't like grab a hold of that freedom for myself and didn't understand freedom in the term of addiction, I still wanted you to accept that, which is, you know, kind of selfish. I mean, kind of bad for myself because I wasn't selfish enough to heal for myself. But I still wanted people to know God. So people still got to know God, and I was still battling secretly. And so I wrote some notes down so that I could keep on what I was doing. This is when I knew I was addicted, right? I broke every moral code that I made for myself, okay? First of all, I never asked people for money. I hate it. And through that college years, let me tell you, I'm sorry if you was one of the ones that I was like, you know, asking for money. I'm so sorry. Part of it was not me. I'm gonna be completely honest. I was not in my right mind, but I was asking family members. I was getting money constantly, and I spent my money first on weed. I barely got food. If I had a couple dollars left, of course, I went to Popeyes or something. That was when I wasn't a vegetarian. But I was just, you know, I would spend my money on weed. And literally, I wouldn't take care of myself. Just as long as I had the weed, I was okay. First indicator, I was like, I think something's wrong. I think I have an issue. That was that. Also, like I told you, I still wanted to allow people to get to God and know God for themselves. So people would literally call me and I would still pray, still would do everything like that. But I was not asking God to heal me from my thing. I was still trying to do it as well as that. And that's bad. You can't do that. People would call me and be like, hey, Daria, can you pray for me? We are in our room. We're struggling right now. We know that we need you right now. Like, we need you so bad. And I was like, okay, y'all, let me tell you, I missed so many phone calls. I missed so many people that depended on me because I was battling with my stuff. Now, mind you, at that time, I was not selfish at all. I was choosing other people before me, but I love God. Still love Jesus. Still love God, that I was like, dang, I can't even function myself. I can't even get myself up enough to help other people. Like, I wasn't. And God gives us a way out constantly. Before you sin, before you do any of that, you'll realize that you have a call and somebody like, hey, can you come meet me real quick? Or you'll have a friend that reminds you of like your situation and of God sends you scriptures. God always gives a way out before you fall into your temptation. And some of those were my way out. But I did not listen, and I still smoked, and I went deeper in my smoking. And I knew that I was, because I'm not a person that would want you to see me out here like crazy. I was not one of those people. But I noticed that I didn't care anymore. I started to go to class high. And mind you, if anybody knows me, I am a nerd. I am a schoolgirl. And yeah, I was high in front of my professors. Of course, they were probably so used to it because it's college. But I was high. I was not even doing my work. I was failing hard. You hear me? Failing hard. And I was an honor roll student. And so it really started to suck. It really did. And so, just kind of speeding past that, I got seriously, severely in it, where I was not eating most of my days. If I had money, I would most likely spend it on weed, and that's just what it was. And also, I told you that I was still going with God. I am a singer. I'm a singer, and I'm also a worship leader. And I still was trying to sing. I was in a choir in my church. In my school. I was in the university choir, and I was also in some Christian choirs at my school. And I lost my gift. I lost my voice. Continued dealing with weed. That weed was hurting me so much that I lost my gift. And once I started singing, it really broke my heart. It wasn't like I couldn't sing all the way. I couldn't do what I normally do. And it really made me so sad. And that's the time I was like, I'm literally choosing this over my entire life. And it was really sad for me at the time. And I didn't even know that I was battling with depression. It was a lot going on through that time. And a lot of things, like addiction can literally be a crutch to so many things that you don't even understand you're going through. Like, addiction was the big picture, but there were little things that were literally holding up that addiction. Like, depression. I was leaning on my addiction. It was a whole lot going on. Also, my countenance changed. Now, people, countenance is that light behind your face. It's either dark or it's either, light. Certain people you walk up to, you like, OMG, you are so bright. Like, you just look so, like, bright today. I don't know what's going on. Like, and then people try to, like, identify, like, what's different. Is it you have makeup on? Is it all of this? No. That's the light behind them. And I always look light. I always look bright. Through that time, I was so dark, y'all. So dark. I'm actually going to put a picture here of how it just looked. Even when I wasn't high, it looked like I was high all the time. Like, it was severely bad. It was severely bad. And through this time, I still was not being honest with God. I chose weed over my friends. The people that really loved me, I was like, I want to be with people that, that smoke, because I know you're going to be like, I don't want to smoke today, and I'm going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to go to somebody else. So I literally was downplaying some of my friends that really loved me. And one thing that I wrote down that is so important for y'all to understand, and literally it's so real, addiction is most times worsened and it's predicated based on your environment. It really is. It really is. I wrote that down when I was in the bathroom, because I was like, yo, that is real. That is real. It really is. It's predicated by your environment. And if your environment is only weed, that is going to it's going to push you severely into weed. And because I wanted to hang around the people that smoked, it made me smoke harder. That's just what it was. So yeah, I went through a severe time. And so towards the end of my addiction, I was like, you know what, God, I don't like this no more. I don't like it. I was still in church, and God was like, I need you to still attend. And I was like, no, because I'm not worthy enough to be up there. Look, all these people up here saved. They don't know what the heck I'm going through. I was literally fighting and tussling with God. I was like, you know what? I don't want to get, I want to get free so much, but I don't want to go into the place where it's going to be encouraging messages that may help me through my addiction, that may help me through my mental space. I was like, no, God, I don't want to feel, I feel worse when I'm in there. I feel like I want to hide when I'm in there. And if you feel like that, trust me, you ain't the only one who feel like that. And also, I was a real person. I hated to be a hypocrite. I hate being a hypocrite. I will never want to be a hypocrite. I hate hypocrites, period. Where you say all of this, oh, God did this and that, and you out here suffering. Mind you, that is mind you, Christians and people and believers, period, you won't be escaped from trouble even in your journey. But the thing about in your journey, you're honest with God and you give it to God. At that time, I was kind of like tussling, like I just didn't feel worthy enough for me to just pray to God. But I could pray to God about others, but I had a kind of messed up mental at the time. I started to feel God like pull on me heavy. Like, Daria, continue to sing. Even if your gift is not there, continue to sing. Continue to worship me. Continue to praise me. I am going to free you. Are you honest? Have you been honest with me? Like, why would you come to me? I am your savior. I am your doctor. All of this stuff. And I was like, it takes a lot to be honest with yourself more than go to God. And I wasn't honest with myself yet that I was addicted. And so I was like, you know what, Daria, let's have a sit down. And I sat myself down. And I was like, you have a problem. You have a problem. You barely eat, but you smoke. You are literally high all the time. You don't go to class. You don't, you miss out on you don't do your responsibilities. You stop being outgoing. I started to isolate myself. I had to really sit myself down. And I was like, yo, you need to stop hanging around these people that literally push you into something you're trying to get free from. I literally had to sit down. And I knew God wanted me to be free. And so, long story short, bringing it to the end, I tried to literally stop on my own. I went cold turkey on my own. And let me tell you, it only brought me kind of back into it because I was doing it in my own strength. And I was honest with God, but I wasn't giving it fully to God. I was like, God, I'm addicted, help me. But I wasn't doing the instructions God was giving me to get me free. Basically, exiting from my environment. Those people that are pushing me in, cut them off because they're not doing anything but worsening my condition. They wasn't doing anything. They were literally making my life worse. Like, we think, oh, they're good friends, we have good conversations, but if they're literally holding on to what you're trying to separate from, they're not for you. I'm sorry, y'all, they're not for you. And I know this wholeheartedly. I miss people still to this day. I think about them often, but I know that God is calling me into greater and calling me different. I can't be with it no more. Also, through the time, I told you I was going to tell y'all how one of my stories was when I got put into a mental institution. It was a psych ward. That was the time I was battling with addiction. In that time, the doctors told me that I had so much THC in my system, so much weed in my system, that even when I wasn't high, my body had it in my, like, it was so much that I had that my mind would recreate the high. It was terrible. I was really, 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 really bad. But through the end, I felt God pulling on me heavy. Hey, give this to me. Give this to me. You don't have the strength that I have. You don't even have strength without me. You can't do this alone. You can't do this alone. And so I sat myself down, and I was still smoking at the time, and I was like, God, I need you to take the taste out my mouth. Some people, that's what you need to pray. God, take the taste out my mouth. Snatch it out. Snatch this desire out of me. I don't want this no more. Snatch it out, right? Snatch it out. And so I prayed that. I said, God, I don't want this no more. I want to be free. I want to be free. I have a problem, and I need you to free me. I need you to free me. And to the point where I forgot about this, I'm very close with my mom. I'm very close with my sister. Through that time, I barely was speaking to them. I literally, like I said, people that I loved, I was separate from. And I almost got arrested one day. That's another story. But I was high as a kite. And the cop could have literally, even though he was there for somebody else, he literally can be like, hey, you good? Come with me. And I would, girl, let me tell you this. Boy, girl, let me tell you this. Daria ain't for the jail cells, okay? I ain't for the jail cells. I'm pretty. I got a little body. Okay? I will not. So I was like, let me go. And literally, I almost cried today. I sure was. Let me tell you, I ain't scary, but jails? Daria can't do it. Let me emphasize that Daria will not be up in the jail cell. And so when the police was there, I was like, Jesus, if you take me right now. Let me tell you, I ain't never prayed hard I pray hard now, but I'm like, at that time, that was the hardest I ever prayed. God, if you get me out of this, I swear to God. And I still, Lord, don't we do that? We do that often. But yeah, that was during the time. But so God was like, Daria, I got you. Give it to me, and I will heal you. And through that time of giving it to God and God heal me, it took a lot of patience because I still had the taste in my mouth. And so as soon as I went into the psych ward, my mom took me out. Okay? Took me out. That day I left, I went straight home and never came back. Never came back to my school. Never went back into the environment that I became the addict in. Like my mom just took me out. Thank God. Listen to the people that love you. If they're saying that you have an issue, please listen to them. They're not trying to talk about you, and they're not trying to judge you. There are people, because you can't see your issue, it takes people from the outside to see what you're battling with. So release the pride and be honest with yourself. And so through this time, I was like, okay, giving it to God. Still have the taste in my mouth. And I would literally be smoking, like, crying. And I know it sounds so weird, but it's for real. I was like, God, please, I don't want this no more. I want to move forward. And God, I literally, let me tell you this. I was fighting for my children that I don't even have yet. I don't want them to battle through addiction. I don't even want them to smoke. I want this to pass them and pass my children's children and my children's children. I want this to pass. I want to break this generational curse. Now, a lot of people don't believe this, and you need to, because it's history. and I wouldn't say it's genetics, it's generational curses. There are people that passed us, like, I don't know, like people in my, in my family line before me and before me and before me, who was rebellious openly, and they were okay, and they allowed that curse to be and push them into the life. Generational curses are a real thing. And I was like, God, I don't want this to pass. So whatever you need to do, forgive my past line, forgive the people that went before me, but it stops now. It stops now. So that took a lot. That took a lot for me, to be honest. And also, I was like, let me tell you, I know how it feels. Medea said it best on one of her plays. She said, it's like a monkey on your back. Well, Tyler Perry, but if you're a real one, you say Medea. But I was like, like it literally is, to the point where through the time my body was demanding it. I didn't even want to, and my body was demanding it because I allowed it to go so far where I didn't have a choice some days. It was like, if I didn't do it, I would go crazy. And that is also an indicator that you are addicted. If anything that you separate from, you go crazy from, let me tell you, that you ain't supposed to be doing that. You feel like you ain't yourself if you without it, because I felt like that too. But yeah, so I was, like I told you, I had to be patient through that time. And God was like, I continue to sing, continue to worship me. Do not stop putting me first. Continue to do, continue to do, continue to do. I'll heal you. I see you. I'll heal you. I see you. And I was like, okay. So it took a lot. And I would say like through a month or two of that, I kept going and I kept going. I did not give up. I kept going. I kept praying. I kept pressing. I kept fasting. I was like, God, help me. I need you to help me. I need you to help me. Y'all, one day, and I remember it like it was nothing, okay? One day, God told me to get up. Get up. Today's the day that you're going to stop. Get up. And when I tell you, I went through 3 days. Hear me. 3 days of the worst withdrawals of my life. Mind you, I told you before that I tried to stop by myself, but it didn't work out. But when God told me to get up that day, and I remember, I think it was in 2019. It was in 2019. God told me to get up. And I was like, okay. I got up and I went through 3 days of the worst withdrawals of my life. I was shaking uncontrollably. I was freaking out. My mind was going crazy. I was angry as a mug. I took out a lot of anger on my family. I was just it was like, and which is so sad about it, and it literally, and it makes me emotional now. I was shaking in front of my mother. Like shakes. Literally, we were at a restaurant and I was talking to her about it, and she was just looking at me like with so much compassion. She was literally watching me like try to eat, shaking. Like barely could talk. My mouth was shaking. Like it was the worst withdrawals of my life. But what God told me, those withdrawals were for the 5 years. So you can only imagine somebody going through something, getting free in 3 days for 5 years, all of it. And I told you I was praying against so that it would not go to my family and even my future husband. I don't want him to go through this. I was fighting against those things. And it was the worst pain of my life. The worst pain. But it was worth it. You hear me? Worth it. I am almost 3 years sober. Do you hear me? 3 years sober. And I identified that I had an issue and I was breaking through generational curses. I was breaking through generational curses. And so I did not know that I had a family of addicts on both sides. And I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that at a young age. I was like, well, it's okay. Maybe it's just me. It's my issue. And God was like, you're fighting for your family. You're fighting for your families to come. Like, you are fighting. And so through that time, I went through the worst withdrawals of my life. And I was acceptable to God. And when God told me to stop, I stopped. When God told me to stop for real, I was like, you know what? I have went through these last 5 years. I did not separate from my environment. So I cut everything that reminded me of my weed. I deleted pictures to the point where I filmed this before, but I filmed it again because I wanted to be more in depth and give you, I just wanted to be more in depth. I tried to find pictures and I could not find them. I could not find them. But I did find one that it was like the aftermath. So I'm going to place it right here. But yeah. Lastly, I just want to encourage you. Anybody who has dealt with addiction or is dealing with addiction now, and you're like, hey, this story sounds like me. Like, I'm sacrificing so much just to feel this little thing. And I want to encourage you. First, be honest with yourself. The first step of healing is to be honest with yourself. Say, I have a problem. Then be honest with God. God already knows, but God wants you to open your mouth and say, hey, God, I need help. And mind you, my story was my story. You may not go through 3 days of withdrawals. God may simply snatch the taste out of your mouth immediately, or you will notice that you will start decreasing. The desire will start decreasing. But I want you to hear me when I say this. Follow the instruction of God. If God is pulling you away from it, eliminate your environment that holds you hostage to that thing. Okay? I had friends that pushed me into it more. I had people around me that was like, bro, it ain't that bad. And I was like, well, it ain't that bad. Even though God was like, it is that bad. You know what I mean? So I want you to eliminate your environment. Separate, literally throw out anything that may remind. Maybe it's pictures, maybe it's a boyfriend, maybe it's something like that. I need you to be an adult. I need you to be mature and say, hey, I'm stepping away. I love you so much, but I'm gonna have to love you from afar, because I know that this is not good for my journey with God. I want to get closer. I don't want to be dragging on people and holding me stagnant. I don't want that in my life. So I want you to be honest with yourself. I really want you to be honest with yourself. And then I want you to be patient with God. I want you to be patient with God. And I want to read one scripture before we go. And it is so good and it helps me. It's in Romans. It is Romans 8:35, and it reads, can anything separate us from Christ's love? Does it mean he no longer loves us if we have trouble, if we battling, or calamity, or are persecuted, or hungry, or destitute, or in danger, or threatened with death? I wanted to read that because I want you to know that nothing separates you from God's love. At the time, I told you in the beginning, and I want to give you clarification, that I felt like I couldn't battle and also serve God. I couldn't be openly with God. But can I tell you that is not the case? That is actually why Jesus died on the cross, so that we can accept the freedom of the Spirit. We can accept, and so that the veil can be broken before us and God, that we can actually go to him and be, hey, Jesus, we need you. And God is like, look, I love you. God has compassion over us when we battle. God doesn't want us to struggle alone. God doesn't want that. But God also wants you to be honest, and also wants you to give your life to him. And you can't have the reward if you rebellious, and also you haven't gave your life to God. You're not his children if you haven't gave your life to God. But if you've already given your life to God, take captive and take a hold of the reward that we have, that we are free. And I wasn't in the right mindset, and I thought that I couldn't. And God was like, if you come to me, I will help you. Like, you going away by yourself, it does not help anything. So yeah, I really hope that this video helped you, because addiction is a real thing. Addiction is a real thing. I know people that went through addiction for 20 years, 20 plus years, and they still was like, I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. It's hard for me. Can I tell you that God's strength is powerful, and it holds up the earth in our lives. And it holds up gravity. It holds up motion. God is time. Like, God does all of this in his strength. You don't think that he can't take this little battle from you? And I want you to know that. Have confidence to know that God will free you. I lost a lot of people from my past. I lost a lot of personal and items from my past. But I want you to know that God loves you and God fights for you. So you can get free from this. And if you are free, let's testify. Because my story looks different from a whole lot of people that went through addiction. And more of the story, and I pray that you got the story and you got it clear. More of the story, I dealt with it for so long and I was not honest with myself. I also allowed my environment to be who I was. And that wasn't the case. And also, more of the story, God freed me, and God freed me. And through God freeing me, I had to be patient. I had to follow instructions. I had to separate from the environment. Now, it is a true saying, birds of a feather flock together. And if your feathers and the people in your flock and all these people you're hanging around with, it looks like who you're trying to be freed from, you need to let go of that. Have a friend that is accountable. Have a friend that says, hey, I want to help you get help, but don't be mad at me when I say you don't smoke today. Don't be mad when I try to separate you from the thing. Though that's what accountability is for. Like, accountability is something that's very important. It's people that is reminding you of why you wanted to be accountable of your issue in the first place. So don't be mad at those people. Be honest with yourself today, and God will heal you. Be honest, follow instruction. So yeah, I am so happy that you clicked on this video and that you see what I had to say. I'm truly grateful, and I pray that you give your life to God. In my last video, I said a prayer. Go back to that video and say it. And just testify that you believe in Christ Jesus, who died for us, who came on this earth to literally teach us, give a whole lot of teaching, and save us from sin. And now is seated on the right hand of God. If you testify that you are saved and you have the right to take the reward of freedom. Okay, so I love you so much, and I pray that this video helped you. Like, comment, and subscribe. Share to a friend. Share to someone you like. Hold on, I think she's addicted. I think she needs to hear this message. And I've been trying to tell her to be honest with herself. Mind you, don't be shamed. Don't try to shame your friend. But this video is to help you. Sometimes our help is not enough. Our own strength is never enough. God's strength is more powerful. I love you so much, and I pray that you come back to the next video. My next video talks about addiction has many skins. Okay? Maybe your addiction wasn't weed. Maybe it was actually that hard stuff. Maybe it was actually maybe it was actually alcohol. Maybe it was actually people, because you can be addicted to people, or that boy, or sex, or any of that. I'm going to talk about that. And I pray that you come back and see that. It's going to be a message on that. And I'm going to help you through the Word of God. And I pray that it helps you. See y'all on the next video. I love you so much.
He said, this is flesh of my flesh and bone of my bone. She shall be called woman. It was all woman when you saw me. Any real people?